But another thing dangerous when the majority isn't always right, minority right, that kind of stuff, is that you can't always apply that to modern day situations or any situation in general, because you could say, well, the minority of people still want to enslave African Americans. KKK, for example, does that mean they should be right? Not necessarily. Popular vote says no. And so you can use analogies left and right saying the majority was right, the minority was wrong, and vice versa, but that's not the question at hand. The question is, does society as a whole, which is not a majority or a minority, approve of homosexuality? And that's where this bill is going to be kind of interesting to see what the final verdict is. That, because that's kind of what's coming up, is the next step for homosexuals, in other words, accepted society, ready for society? And that's what I'm interested to see.
Well, but when you talk about the acceptance, then why is homosexuality so threatening to you? Why is gay couples a problem? It's why is society so against gays and trans people and people of the LGBT community? And when I say LGBTQ, I mean lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer community.
Thank you for the clarification on that one. One thing to think about too is what do people have against homosexuality? It's one of the major questions. That being a religious person, like I'm a Christian, I'm Baptist, is that we view homosexuality as a sin, as immoral, just as sleeping around when you're married, or gluttony, or extreme, I guess, excess of drugs, or a lot of things we very non-favor of. That we view it all in the same light. That oftentimes is, like I said, I give the analogy of you love the sinner, not the sin. That you're not against homosexuals or against homosexuality. And that's a big disconnect. Oftentimes we're not against the people having rights, we're against the people's lifestyle. And then one of the biggest fears in the Christian community is that when issues like this pass, that's basically given the gateway to accept this lifestyle, which we were basically opposed to.
I'm for it. It's basic human rights in my eyes, kind of. I mean, why not? They're people too, aren't they? Is their love any less than your love just because you're a man and a woman? I don't think so. I think all love's equal. I don't think it's limited to your sex. Just because some people don't think it's right doesn't mean it isn't.
So you were definitely voting to approve referendum 71?
Hell yes.
We're back in the studio with Peter Wagner to talk more about referendum 71. Peter, how are you doing today?
Good. How about you, Alex?
I'm doing great.
Fantastic.
What do you think about the arguments that you heard while doing this piece?
Well, quite frankly, they were interesting because they seem to divide themselves into two pretty separate categories. Mm-hmm. From what I found, either you were for it or you were against it. And the common denominator between these two arguments was really faith. That on the one side, on the approve side, you had this faith in the natural things, in sort of the sciences, and the belief that they feel they really are entitled to these rights. The gay community is entitled to these rights. And on the other side, you're also dealing with faith. The reject is more of a faith in God. It's more of a Christian ideal that is sort of at the heart of this argument, that they don't think it's right. Not that, from what I heard, not that they hate the individuals. Mm-hmm. They're not against gay people. They're just against homosexuality in general. And so that's sort of the crux of their argument, and that's where they're coming from. So in reality, they're both coming at it from a faith base, but it's two completely different faith bases that don't actually agree on this issue.
Where does referendum 71 sit right now? Is it going to be passed? Is it flopping?
Well, right now, so this data is current is at 9 p.m. on November 4th. 56% of the votes statewide have been counted. Right now it's being approved with 52% of the vote. 593,000-ish ballots, almost 594 are to approve, and 556,000 are against. This is a margin.
Like a razor-thin margin.
Almost a 38,000 ballot margin, and in reality, this is very small. This election also has a very, very low turnout. King County, out of registered voters, only 28% of people voted in this election, of registered voters, which is notoriously low. 85% statewide got out last year for the historic election, the historic presidential election. And I think the problem with this election, the problem with this ballot measure, why it's coming so close, is because it's an off-year election. So the fact that Ref 71 was on this ballot, it's a bit oddly timed. Mm-hmm. So I wouldn't use this as a barometer of how the state feels one way or the other. I know it's being approved right now by such a slim margin, but really we can't use this as the indicator of full state approval. So if anything like this gets on the ballot in a federal election year or even a state legislature election year, then I think we'll see a better indicator of how the state really feels about domestic partnerships.
Definitely. And it'd be nice if we could get more people to come out and vote, because even city council members actually have a very large impact on our lives, I think.
And if I could do an update real quick about a
Yes,
story we
go
did
ahead.
a while ago on a politician. We did a story about Melissa Sue Robinson, who was running for mayor of Nampa, Idaho. Unfortunately, she did not win her election. She won roughly 2% of the vote the last time I checked. The incumbent mayor has won his third term.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Peter, for the update. Thank you for talking to us
No
about
problem.
the referendum.
Thanks, Alex.
Stay right here. Studio 41 will be right back. Welcome back to Studio 41. 3 states, Texas, Arizona, and Idaho, have adopted the practice of having their police officers draw blood from suspected drunk drivers to determine if they are intoxicated. Proponents say that it has few drawbacks and that it will help enforce drunk driving laws more effectively. But is this the role we want police officers to play in our society? Opponents wonder if this goes too far. Here is Rich Kresge and Katie Potaski with more.
A new procedure for identifying suspected DUI motorists could be making its way to Washington State. Police-conducted blood tests have already been implemented in select police departments in Arizona, Texas, and in police stations in Nampa, Idaho. We wanted to learn more about what this process meant for both the police and for the public. We asked several people about the current procedure for identifying suspected DUI motorists and views about the new procedure of phlebotomy tests. First, we spoke with Commander Chris Tennant of the Pullman Police Department about current protocol when dealing with a suspected DUI.
The current process for DUIs in the city of Pullman is you'll get pulled over for a traffic violation. Generally, it's speeding here in town. The officer will smell alcohol on your breath. He'll ask you to do voluntary field sobriety tests. You can do them or not do them. It's your choice. My recommendation is if you're not drunk, do them. If you are drunk, don't do them. The officer will make an arrest decision based on your driving and his observations. You'll be brought down here and given the opportunity to blow in the breathalyzer.
We were curious what prompts police to test a person when suspected of driving under the influence. Trooper Briggs filled us in. What kind of things do you look for in a DUI?
As far as what portion? I mean, there's
From initial contact, like when you're out patrolling, what do you look for?
as far as driving.
Yes.
Just about anything. I mean, obviously, unable to stay in their lane, failure to signal, variance in speeds, whether it be extremely slow or extremely fast, wide turns. There's all kinds of things that might lead you to believe that the person that you're following has been drinking.
And then when you make contact, you
Obviously, odor of intoxicants, bloodshot, watery eyes, slurred speech, reduced motor skills, the balance not stable, and then obviously we do some testing after that, some standardized sobriety testing.
After talking to Trooper Briggs about some of the characteristics of a driver under the influence, we asked Mothers Against Drunk Driving mom Linda Thompson about the effects drunk driving can have. She shared with us her personal story.
August 16th, 1986, my 2 children, Katie was 6 at the time and Trevor was 3. He was 1 month shy of his 4th birthday. They went down to spend the weekend with their grandpa and grandma in Le Center, Washington, and they were going to be in a parade. And Trevor was sitting beside his grandpa on a pony cart, and Katie was on a horse behind them, and a 19-year-old girl who was learning disabled, wanted to be in the parade with Katie, was behind her on a 3-wheeled bike. At 9:30 that morning, on their way to the parade, a man who had been out drinking all night long stopped and bought beer at a convenience store, came down the road, was out of control, in and out of the ditch, came up out of the ditch, killed the girl on the bike, next came up again, hit my daughter's horse, severing the back leg off the horse, which is what bucked her off, which is what saved Katie's life. But Trevor took the full impact of the car on his side of the pony cart, and he was killed almost instantly. and their grandpa was hurt really bad, and then the little pony was killed. The man who hit them had had 17 previous DUI arrests with no convictions.